An Ultra Chad with steel balls stared straight into the bear's eye socket through the back of his skull a month ago in the Congo Mountains, saying, "You are so boring," then stabbed it straight into the eye with a flimsy stick. And Kakeru takes out his knife and makes his kill as soon as the bear collapses to the ground. Thought the task is finished, he unwinds for a while until his grandfather exclaims, "It ain't over yet!" Our youngster turns to face another bear that is charging at him, while using his comrade as bait. As he understands his time is running out, and he would soon be returned to the lobby, his grandfather somehow blows out the bear's brain. Bears operate in pairs during mating season, he recalls Kakeru. Kakeru regrets for lowering his guard. Then his grandfather inquires as to why he is against attending school. He learns from Kakeru that he aspires to be a top G who escapes the Matrix, and that, after viewing enough Sigma videos, school is a greater fraud than Crane Games. The meta has lost it. Additionally, he had won the lottery with 1 billion yen, or roughly $6.5 million. That much money could last him his whole life, and he would much prefer train with his grandfather than attend school and obtain a job. His grandfather advises him to quit acting like a 10-year-old, and yapping, since if he keeps acting like a child, their entire line would end with him, and he will never get a girlfriend. He therefore makes Kakeru promise to attend school, failing which he will never be allowed to return to these highlands. But our youngster informs his grandfather that he is unable to attend college. Thus, he is forced to become an adventurer. He gets to the grounds of the Adventurers Guild training. His grandfather informs him he can gain references to prestigious universities if he becomes an explorer. He won't graduate with a ton of debt because tuition is free as well. Though he has no choice, Kakeru already wants to go home. The guy greets everyone and says that America invented a teleportation technology a few years ago that links Earth to another planet. As Japan has had that teleportation thing for a very long time, I'm not sure why this person is lying. It has 4 wheels and a half-blind driver operating it at Formula 1 speeds. Works a treat. They also have the responsibility of exploring new worlds and advancing humankind. Living for a single day in the other world is their first task. Our lad is being left out of the group of 4 to 6 that everyone has to form. Then a truly nice girl with a huge heart chooses to extend an invitation to him to join her group with 3 other girls. Since he last spoke with a girl during the Ice Age, Kakeru begins to perspire. Does he not want to join them, she thinks? After a cursory look at those massive jugs, he accepts right away, but he wonders why she chose him. Grinning, she told him she could tell he was not your typical Joe, since he was carrying a really large Johnson. Does her group as a whole agree? She asks. They are set that Kakeru will accompany them, since they couldn't give a damn. That girl goes by Iroha Kisaragi. When Kakeru greets her, he could not make eye contact. She informs Kakeru her face is up here. Since at first he was unaware that there was a face, he apologies. Then he goes by Kakeru Satomi in introduction. The transfer gate has opened, hence the man urges everyone to stop talking. All of them teleport into another world by walking through the gate. A man approaches them with awful news that the portal has vanished, not even a minute after they all were incredibly thrilled to be in a different planet. Kakeru queries if that's a negative thing. It's not at all a negative thing, the girl in his group remarked. Though it was our only means of returning to Earth, that gateway isn't actually that significant. Kisaragi probes Shino for information. Simply put, Shino says they are stuck. Reverting to their previous reality is impossible. One of their group members advises them to hold off till assistance shows up. Help is non-existent, Shino informs her, for the portal has vanished. Face blanked, Kisaragi snatched Kakeru's hand and exclaimed, "That means they'll have to use survival tactics, and it's going to be awesome." Is she experienced in survival? Kakeru asks. Though she kindly said, "Nah, she believes that everything will work out just fine now that he is here." Hearing this bricks Kakeru, who tells her to get go of his hand before his pre-game juice seeps down his legs. Now the 100 of them are stranded on an abandoned island. Kisaragi seems a touch too laid back for this, Shino remarks. Then Kakeru informs everyone that he can come up with 2 theories. Either they are essentially doomed, or the gateway vanished as part of their training. However, there have been other instances in the past when portals vanished. Hence, technically, the gateway ought to be back up after a few days. These theories, though, are all copium pills, because none of them could be true. With an explanation that he will explore and wander around a little, our boy heads into the forest. Although Kisaragi warns him that the forest is dangerous, Kakeru's testicles are so enormous that he merely slaps away all the warning flags like a total moron. He said he wants to learn more about the region in case of an emergency. Kisaragi offers them everyone to join him after learning this, since they are all members of the same gang. Then Kakeru notices they haven't yet given a suitable introduction. Shino Minase, the spectacles girl, Fuka Chitose, and Kaide Rurikawa, the housewife who appears to be married with 2 children, and who you think is really, really hot. She is in fact only in her 3rd year of high school. Our boy loses focus and greets her quadruple XL milk trucks instead, since she's likewise stacked out of her mind. Kisaragi calls him out for it, but he quickly refutes the charge because there isn't any proof. She stops him, saying it's okay because boys will be boys, and they'll always get rock hard whenever they see curves. And she knows Kakeru has a lot of evil feelings inside of him begging to be let loose. I can practically hear the mess in her voice vibrating in my ears like an ASMR film, so there's no way this girl is in high school. Bamboo was encountered as they proceeded into the forest. Having seen several of them in Japan, Kakeru recognizes it. Cutting down the bamboo, he takes out his knife. Its severance surprises Kisaragi, and our youngster begins to carve a bamboo spear. Shocking them all, Kaide wonders why he wouldn't just use the knife, which is far more powerful than a bamboo. She needed to be sat down and told that size matters first. The longer the better. It is absolutely obvious that all those theories claiming that usage is more important than size are incorrect. This could also serve as a walking stick and allows him to attack without entering his opponent's range. When he's done, Kisaragi calls him captain and commends his enormous brain activity. Confusion settling in, Kakeru proposes that Kaede, being the oldest, be the commander. But Kaide's brains are not as enormous as her chesticles, hence Kakeru will undoubtedly be their leader. A loud noise starts to be heard, and birds begin to take off from the vicinity. Playing his favorite funk music, our lad charges right into the action. He orders everyone to return the same route they took to reach the woodland. Though Kisaragi is unsure if they will make it, he made sure there were no animals close by, so they should be all right. Kakeru therefore advises them to follow him instead. A bear pumped up with steroids is seen by them peeping through a bush, and the bear notices the 4 of them. As the bear approaches them, Kisaragi is already on the ground, I suppose because she detests living. But Kakeru calms them down and gently steps back. He understands that this is bad since the bear is not backing down and is in fact on crack. Kisaragi is in disarray since her legs won't move, but Kakeru shields her and charges right at the bear, stabbing its eye out. Since the bear is much too large for him to use his normal method on, he decides to flee instead. But he recalls that his grandfather did not teach him to be a coward who flees from bears. He remembers his grandfather advising him to go for the heart, but if he was unable, to go for the medulla oblongata. Now, at first I assumed the author had just made up a few arbitrary terms, but it turns out it's a brain region. Kakeru stabs the bear, then he gets his right-hand guy out and stabs it again. It soaks Kisaragi's underwear to witness a performance of this generation. Before any more crackhead bears arrive, he pulls her up and advises they leave. When nightfall arrives and they've all had dinner and pitched their tents, Kakeru collapses into a happy sleep, feeling spoiled to be able to spend the night in a tent. A voice next asks if he's still awake. As he peeps out, Kisaragi says she can't go to sleep and requests to stay in his tent. Sitting down, she described how ridiculous his battle with the animal was. She compliments him because he was fighting like an experienced traveler. But Kakeru remained modest and informed her that given his dangerous play, a professional would have performed far better. They would have been minced flesh had he overlooked its vitals. Kisaragi suddenly bends her head and thanks him for previously. She thanks him once more, flushing, as he saved her life. Flushing, Kakeru puts on his calm guy persona and claims that saving her was just natural. Then, Kisaragi asks if boys harbor a lot of evil emotions and if he would like her to let them out for him. Since I should have been the one punching the air for the last 5 minutes, you guys aren't really able to witness it. Kisaragi begins to slither inexorably towards Kakeru, preparing to reveal his deadly weapon concealed between his knees. Since Kakeru has undoubtedly size-maxed his sniper rifle, which resembles a horse, Kisaragi is taken aback. She keeps on with her performance, nevertheless, unaffected. And let's just say she got down and dirty and gulped up all that gizzy like a throat goat. For obvious reasons, this scene cannot be seen on YouTube. She claims inexperience, however, she looks to be a natural at it. She's prepared to go on to the next phase, where she absorbs the vitamin directly in her stomach after drinking her vitamin D. But Chitose phones Kakeru and requests to speak with him for a little while. They changed back into their costumes fast, and Kisaragi promised to thank them again the next time. Why is Kisaragi's cheeks red, and was that his voice just now? Chitose questions. Gaslighting his way through, Kakeru reasons that since everything is perfectly normal, she must be having hallucinations. Then Chitose informs him that she wants him to show her how to put together the firewood. She compliments Kakeru for his great support and wealth of knowledge when he begins educating her. But Kakeru loses himself in her Calvin Klein's hue, too preoccupied. It's good to change things up even if Chitose isn't throwing any crazy cannonballs. While she muses over the ideal size of firewood, Kakeru is once more lost in his own thoughts. Does he ever listen? She wonders. After apologizing, our boy comes to see that perhaps this isn't such a terrible situation. In fact, it might be a hip hip hooray. As morning broke, Kakeru proposed that they return to the jungle while they were having breakfast. But being with others is safer, according to Kisaragi. That's not, however, a smart plan in Kakeru's opinion. Everyone seems okay now, Shino assures him, but wait till they realize they are all stranded here and have no means of getting home. The mayhem will ensue as they all begin to panic. Kakeru concurs and notes Shino's rather sharp mind. Starting with an analysis of the three daughters, he concludes that Keida appears to be a loving mother, and that Kisaragi's brain is rather little because her twin calcium pack has already consumed all of it. Then there's Fuka Chitose, on whom we're still not quite sure. Thus, he chooses to go into further territory with them in order to learn more about them. After a very long trek into the bush, they came upon the ideal campground, and Kakeru choose to make this their base. Before then, though, he would like to take a brief skill assessment. As it happens, his test involves starting a fire, which perplexed all the girls. Though nothing is truly happening, Kisaragi is sweating profusely. In the meanwhile, Chitose has hers lit and operational already. With the kind thumbs up from Kakeru, Kisaragi has never felt more helpless in her life. She would much prefer handle his rod than this dumb metal one. Kakeru does clarify, though, that fire is essentially their Michael Jordan in a survival scenario. Their capacity to spark their own fire is therefore crucial. Then Shino returned, running, carrying all of her stuff. As it happens, she had a little trouble gathering together all of her supply. She starts arranging everything, and Kaeda is the second person to light a fire. Though Shino gives it her all, nothing seems to work. She is doing it right, Kakeru tells her, but the wood she has won't ignite as it is. Shino shaves the wood into smaller pieces and tries again. Then at last, she lit her own fire. She eventually succeeds in keeping the fire going by gradually adding additional wood and beginning to blow some air on it. With the exception of Kisaragi, who is still bursting into tears trying to start this fire, Kakeru congrats everyone for passing. Kakeru tells Shino she needs to increase her speed statistics. Still, given that she was the only one to discover the fat wood, she is quite astute. It sounds as though they are conversing in a whole other language, and Kisaragi has no idea what he is talking about. It's a wood, Kakeru says, with high levels of natural resin, which makes it burn readily. Shino is told to stand proud of her intelligence by Kakeru, who also praises her knowledge. Saying she will, she smiles. As he realizes he now has a better opportunity of getting into her crotch, our boy flushes. When hunger strikes, Kisaragi begins to search for canned goods. They'll catch some fish for dinner for the time being, as Kakeru stops her and tells her that canned food should only be used in an emergency. Although Kakeru informs Kisaragi that they would use fishing baskets, Kisaragi worries how they will fish without even a boat. Since Kisaragi has no concept what it is, he said that it will be simpler to just show her. She pouts, since our son is treating her like a clown. As Kakeru puts it, he's merely astounded by her ignorance. Kisaragi is taken aback since he was acting so differently last night, when she devoured his 12-inch subway in one sitting. When Shino hears this and wonders what happened last night, the two flush, and she swiftly pulls the subject out of the conversation. As their fishing basket is complete, Kakeru walks them through its operation. It functions essentially like a trap in that fish cannot escape once they are inside. The girls are keen to make their own, but Shino advises them to proceed because she works slowly and will just be a pain. She should make it with Kakeru though, as he interrupts. After her confusion, the two begin to work making their fishing basket. Kakeru demonstrates for them, and naturally Kisaragi finds this difficult, but Chitose picks things up quickly. When Shino completes hers, they may all go fishing. After erecting boulders to obstruct the fish's escape path, they proceed to start generating noise. The fish swim near Shino when they all begin splattering water everywhere. After she makes a substantial catch, Kakeru orders them to light their fire, and Shino will be cooking alongside him. Shino asks our child how he is so powerful as he is, about to begin slicing the fish after he puts on his chef hat. He isn't powerful, Kakeru tells her. All he does is adore his grandfather. Then Shino tells him she admires him and begins to glaze over him by describing him as powerful and kind, and that she aspires to be just like him. With another girl added to the collection, Kakeru begins to flush. As they are done preparing their meal, Kisaragi is drooling over her fish. They all got right into it, and the dinner is a real 10 out of 10. It's fantastic, according to Kakeru as well. But Kisaragi thought it would be even better with extra salt. When she finished speaking, Kisaragi uttered something valuable for the first time ever. After giving it some thought, our lad informs everyone that they will be working on some earthenware next. Surprised, Kisaragi urges our son to get over it, as they can't possibly manufacture anything like that. However, Kisaragi could hardly understand words, so her information isn't really credible. What will he do with earthenware? Kaide wonders. They will be used to purify and extract salt, says Kakeru. Shino then begins outlining the importance of salt to the human body, and how a deficiency in it can be fatal. Its necessity for survival follows from this. After Kisaragi proposes they just gulp down a glass of seawater, Kakeru sits her down and informs her that's not how it works because seawater has too high a salinity content for humans and serves as a bacterial breeding environment. Walking further, Kakeru discovered some excellent soil. It has the ideal stiffness, he says, so they ought to be able to use it just as is. Seeing that everyone is unexpectedly enthusiastic about the survival experience, Kakeru instructs everyone to take a piece of clay, flatten it into a circular form, and make a base. When they were all done molding it, they would often let it air cure for a few weeks. They'll ignore that portion though, since given their current situation, they won't be alive by then. Over an open fire, they set the clay pots. Up till the fire runs out, they will keep burning them. When at last the fire goes out, they are finished. Now Kisaragi notices hers resembles a slime. Sincerely speaking, Kisaragi is fortunate to have large calcium packs and a beautiful face, since without them, her life would most likely be gone. To the sea they go next. Though Shino advises Kisaragi to cool down, they're just coming to fill their pottery with seawater. Kisaragi is incredibly anxious to go to the sea. Chitos believes this isn't all that horrible as they boil the water. Kakeru advises them return to the tents, where he will check over the fire and it should be ready by the time they return, as Kisaragi's stomach begins to growl once more. Then, because she needs to speak with Kakeru about something, Shino wants to stay behind. After the two settle in, Kakeru inquires as to what she would like to discuss. What transpired between him and Kisaragi yesterday night? Asks Shino. Surprised, Kakeru attempts to look ignorant, but Shino warns him against it because she heard all the gawk noises emanating from his tent the previous night. Then, flushing, she describes how Kakeru, who is still in high school, is actually a demon who made Kisaragi do strenuous throat exercises. But Shino says she also wants him to train her throat using the same technique he used with Kisaragi.